Well, in a case in Iowa that also happened in the early 2000s, the judge actually, I wish I could remember the case. Excuse me, that it just went out of my head. But because the defendant was arguing, well, the lawyer was arguing for the defendant. Sorry, saying like trying to prove that consent was part of this. Like his client received consent from the girl who was, coming after him saying that her consent was violated, and the judge ruled that he dismissed the jury. I think he ended up dismissing them, but he basically told them like, you cannot, like, consent does not matter in this case because she feels assaulted, so you cannot use consent in your ruling. You cannot use consent in your ruling. And it's just kind of like literally like the guy's like, here are the receipts to show that she consented, and he just like, we can't use this in court. So even if the jury maybe one person on that box was in the community and knew consent was a factor, they are not allowed to use that as part of their judgment.
I mean, and so therefore there's inherent risk in performing BDSM services as a top. Are there any cases where a top has
been victorious?
No, sued a bottom?
Oh, I don't know. Because everything
you
I was
didn't
reading...
take enough of a beating, or I'm just trying to figure out in what cases
you didn't beat me enough. I don't think so.
The top press charges against the bottom. I don't know.
Yeah, everything is more about someone feeling like their consent was violated.
So it's really the top that is taking on the risk in these scenarios. Statistically speaking, it's very rare that a bottom is saying their consent was violated in this
in the active community nowadays.
No. I mean in the sense where the
legal system is involved.
Where the legal system is involved, and where there is maybe a paper trail of consent.
Probably.
So did you run across any cases where the person accused was victorious?
No.
It's not looking good for our heroes.
No. It was only, I think I was reviewing about 5 to 6 cases, so I don't know, like, legality wise, like how long, or the legal history surrounding BDSM in this instance, but the few cases I was looking at, not one person who got accused was victorious.
So the case in 2016, do you remember many of the details?
Oh my gosh, no. I think it was this, because all of these were like little clips of cases of me just trying to like read the history of BDSM and how it holds up. And when I got to the US, it was only about 6 cases. I think the 2016 case was, I know it was a female and a guy at George Mason University, and I don't know all the details. I just know that they had safe words laid out. They had discussed this. His argument was she did not use her safe word. That was his argument. And she said, I still felt assaulted. So I don't know the details. That's something I'm gonna have to look, or like at least drop the link in for our audience members for us to look into. But I didn't get like a lot of information off of it. But none of the cases that this one particular person who was doing the research, not one person won. That was the top. Or
so you heard it here. You're a rack, you're a prick, you're this, you're that. Doesn't help you. What helps you is good selectivity.
Yeah, and now I feel bad. Maybe I should start. I'm gonna go back and look to see if there has to. I wonder, like, there has to be a case that someone won, but I haven't seen one, and I'm kind of curious, like, if they won, what did they win on, right? Because it couldn't be consent, because all of these consent cases, like if in 2016 the highest court is saying that BDSM is equal to assault and consent doesn't matter in these cases, and I wonder if anyone has won on a technicality, like a different argument.
And I would like to know the details of the case, because it might be that I hear the details and I'm like, that doesn't sound that terrible. I don't know. It's super hard to say, right?
So has any of these made it to the Supreme Court?
I think the only one was the George Mason one. It was like John Doe versus Rector.
So that becomes, a huge thing then.
And so Yeah.
Or
and-
maybe I don't know if it made it to Supreme Court, but I know it made it pretty far. That's the one that made it like pretty far.
pretty high up.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm lacking all the information.
No, it's okay. You have a lot more details than we do, obviously. But college kids,
Yeah.
on campus,
Or one of them was a visitor of.
a visitor.
Yeah, one of them was a visitor.
Like the way I frame it in my mind, and of course this is me projecting onto it,
Mm.
right? This doesn't sound like what I would consider adult consensual. Of legal age, yes.
Yeah.
But on a college campus, like kids
But
and
there's still like
consenting adults.
yeah, that's what
right?
I think the biggest thing for me I was getting from this was the whole argument of consent. Like, why doesn't consent hold up in court? Like, obviously, this girl failed to get consent on all courts. Well, let's say she did. Let's say she did get his consent. What if there's a whole history of them like messaging on FetLife, going like, "Yes, I like to be cut. I like."
That's
edge
what
play."
I want to know
That's what I'm
too.
getting, like-
Yeah, because
yeah.
even in rape cases, they can use that. Like, oh no, she said, "Come on over." She
Mhm.
said she was going to do this. So why in BDS with something that the defense is BDSM does it become non-admissible?
Because yeah, whether the person consented or not.
Right, because you could show receipts for regular sex assault, right?
Mhm.
But
Yeah. Well, it's super complicated too with human beings. Like,
Well, but rape is like usually just sex, right? I think with the BDSM thing, you're talking about someone inflicting, because that's what this the article's talking about, inflicting pain on someone. You're literally like beating someone, or slapping someone, choking someone, cutting someone, right? And with rape cases, I feel like you're literally just sexually. That's all it is, right? There's no like instruments or tools or someone like getting just the shit beat out of them and then turning around and saying, "Yes, choke me," and then turning around, like I feel like that's the difference with rape, right?
right.
I have an angel on my shoulder, but a devil in my head.